High Street is the oldest and one of the most historically significant streets in Glasgow, but has found itself in a state of disrepair, with many of its long-established businesses being faced with building problems and termination of lease notices.
I'm Samantha Cooper, and together with Andrew Maloney we own Ladywell Crystals and Healing Limited. Ladywell was named after the ancient well at the foot of the necropolis, which at one time was one of the only entrances into Glasgow thousands of years ago. And in our Celtic heritage, our ancestors used wells as focuses for healing. So Ladywell is really all about bringing healing and spirituality to this area of Glasgow. The shop was opened in 2009. We'd had our first shop, 23 Enigma, for 15 years, and our customer base really wanted us to expand. So we were excited to create Ladywell to draw attention to the ancient history in the area. This is an ancient Bronze Age street, and Ladywell was probably a goddess Celtic healing centre, as all wells were used for healing 2,000 years ago. When City Property took over the management of all these properties in the High Street in 2010, all the traders' lives changed overnight. Suddenly, 70% rent increases drove out many of the long-established businesses here. Some businesses had been here for over 100 years.
My name's Gordon Jennings. I work or own Glasgow Appliances at 6 George Street in Glasgow's High Street. I've been involved or running the business for the last 5 years. My wife worked for the previous owners, so she's been involved for about 28 years. But the business can be traced back to the early 60s. Generally over the years, dampness is the main problem, and dampness has contributed to electrical faults and problems. The people responsible basically aren't interested. They've confirmed that they're not willing to spend a penny on any of the council buildings, so it's been an uphill struggle.
We first reported problems in 2009 when we renovated Ladywell and found dry rot. There's historic rot in water ingress, including an open sewer under the High Street. We'd been told this by Gordon of Glasgow Appliances, but the proof for ourselves was discovered when ACE accounts of 272 High Street reported sewage gas. You could smell the sewage gas on the street, and it was investigated, later to be cleared out when we received access. Underneath our building was an open sewer with a huge stage covered in human excrement, decades old. This must have led to some health problems on the High Street and certainly contributed to the historic damp and rot that we've all experienced.
My name's Andrew Maloney. I'm co-owner of 23 Enigma and the shop Ladywell. The shop was started in 1995, and for the first 15 years we had no problems because it was council run. It's still council owned, but it's not council run anymore. It's run by City Property, who've failed to repair things in the street and have generally caused a very bad atmosphere among the other traders on the street, who are, like us, also facing loss and eviction and ill health because of their treatment. Customers and politicians alike have been horrified when we've told them what we found in the basement when we got access to the open sewer downstairs. It showed years and years of sewage and material that could easily catch fire had been left there, and was only removed when they were forced to by people complaining about the sewage smell permeating the street. But the damage is done, and unfortunately the moisture and the rot has spread to our other shop, which is some metres down the road, and we know of rot in other premises between here and there as well, and we don't see any improvement in any long-term strategy or anything to protect these buildings and the investment that's been made in them by us, by the citizens of Glasgow for the last 100 odd years. And there could be 100 odd years more life in these buildings if they're treated properly.
The damp and rot is also present in the Cathedral charity shop, which sits between Ladywell and 23 Enigma. With many parts of the shop looking just as bad as others on the street, it pulls into question, why was this allowed to happen to the street, and when are those responsible going to step in and take action?
City Property have said to our neighbours that they are not spending a penny on the High Street, and quite frankly we're all outraged by that. These ancient buildings were part of the Glasgow Improvement Trust over 100 years ago, and they were really for the people. So for Glasgow's oldest street to fall into disrepair like this is really shocking.
My name is Daniel Taylor and I run McCune Smith Cafe at 3 to 5 Duke Street. Originally I took on these premises because I was going to open a design studio letting out desk space. But because this place was so run down and dilapidated, the cost of renovations were going up through the roof. And I was beginning to realise that I'd never make my money back on the investment of renovating the place. And so a friend said to me, oh, you know, why not open a cafe instead? And I said, well, how hard can that be? And that was how I got into opening a cafe and opening McCune Smith. So years 1 and 2 we've lost money. On year 3 I hope to be breaking even with a profit in years 4 and 5. But that's the financial side of it. I think the success has really been the sort of wider involvement in sort of interest groups that are tied to McCune Smith. So for example, McCune Smith is named after James McCune Smith, who was the first black American to get a medical degree. And through that story we operated the Empire Cafe, which went on to win an award. And the Empire Cafe was a pop-up cafe for the Commonwealth Games that explored Glasgow's relationship with the Commonwealth and in particular slavery. But we've had visits from US Ambassador, we've had Alistair Darling came in during the referendum, Sandy Toksvig came in recently, and so the success in being part of the sort of wider community of independent retail is probably where our success lies.
My name is Mr. Mohammed Bilal. I'm trading at a High Street news agent, 287 High Street. I have a couple of problems with the buildings and I try phone them to City Council, Housing Association, they're not listening. Then I complain so many times, they're not listening. They send us factor bills as unpayable. Even they change the light in a close, they send us bill. Even they paint the close, they send us bill. No done to any building, shop buildings. They try want to close the shop or something. I want to City Council to help us, all the tenants here.
Sarah Gray of Ace Accounting Services has been trading from 272 High Street for 11 years.
When Glasgow City Council leased the premises, the businesses were not charged for repairs to the property. On signing the initial lease, I was told, it's a straightforward lease, a rolling lease. You don't need to seek legal advice. You can choose to leave at any time as long as you give 1 month's notice. All repairs to the building were carried out by Glasgow City Council. However, when Glasgow City Property LLP took over and handed the management to Ryden Property Management, we then started to receive repair bills for the building. As an owner of a property, then I can understand why you would have to pay for repairs to the building, but not as a tenant. Tenants are not allowed to purchase building insurance. It is only the owner of a property. My property has been flooded by tenants twice. I can only claim my insurance for the damage to the assets of my business. The water heater burst and flooded the office, and Ryden instructed me to replace the boiler, which I did at a cost of £650. But when I tried to claim the reimbursement from Ryden, I was informed that I was responsible for the boiler and my insurance company would not pay it out as it was not my asset. The smell from the basement over the years has been putrid, and indeed a health hazard, and has no doubt damaged the foundation, but Glasgow City Property seem not to care. It is difficult enough to run a business and employ staff in the current economic climate, and increasing rents and treating small businesses with contempt makes the situation more difficult.
We are very much part of a community here. We all help each other. We've been here such a long time with Enigma, 21 years, Ladywell 6 years old. We know everyone in the area. We were working towards having some evenings talking about the ancient history of the area, raising awareness of Glasgow's ancient history. We'd be devastated, and basically a lot of people are going to be unemployed if Ladywell closes, and it will devastate the area. There are so many vacant shops and properties here at the moment anyway. It looks like a graveyard of to let signs, as was reported in the Herald newspaper in 2012 when City Property took over.
I'm Jordan and I'm a customer at Ladywell. I was attracted to Ladywell as they've got a large variety of crystals and I'm really interested in the healing properties that they provide. The shop is special to me because it's a one of a kind and it's got a really welcoming atmosphere and the staff are really helpful. The closure of Ladywell would affect me as I feel as if it's a one of a kind shop. I feel as if as well it brings a lot of history to Glasgow and I feel as if it would be a big shame for that to go to waste. I think a lot of the customers as well would also feel really lost in where to go afterwards.
Well, my name is Thomas and my relationship to the shop is that I'm the tarot psychic reader. I also do the meditation classes for the shop as well. The meditation class that we have is about introducing people that have maybe never been involved in the meditation before, then some people that have got a certain amount of experience with it. But the meditation is about stilling one's mind and opening up to the spiritual influences. Still mind is a receptive mind, but it's about guiding people to help them open up to their own ability. And build up a lot of people that are regular clients and come every so often. So it's like a small community that's built up. So although you can move on to another maybe job as it were, you can't really replace that as easily.
My name's Asha and my connection to Ladywell is that I'm a customer. I've experienced a lot in Ladywell. The so-called classes for meditation are absolutely amazing. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago in my life, I wouldn't have even touched on meditation. But it's brought a lot of peace and contentment in my life. It can change your life around and Ladywell's helped me do that. You can walk in and you don't realise what you've taken away with you. It's full of knowledge, a lot of knowledge, and that's priceless. It would be sad for Ladywell to close because this street itself, being the historical part of Glasgow, is becoming a ghost town. And small businesses like this are unique and it's extremely, extremely important to, as a community member, to help it thrive. And it's really sad if it was to go, really sad. There'd be, I think personally for me, there'd be a part missing at my life because this has been a journey for me here. I would never have walked into Ladywell's 10 years ago, but now, like I said, it's an amazing place and it provides a beautiful, beautiful service to everyone.
Ladywell has added a lot to the cultural aspects of Glasgow too. We've supplied the Kelvin Grove Museum with a permanent exhibition. We supplied Scottish Opera. There's an Angel exhibition which has just been extended to another year. It's a Mungo's exhibition which features myself and a member of staff, Cara. Ladywell recently supplied Outlander with many tools and special items from here using our specialist knowledge. So Ladywell adds much more to Glasgow than just a shop and holistic centre. We were expecting repairs to be done immediately as per a meeting of 2010, but since then in the past 6 years we've really fought to have an investigation into why it's taken so long to have these repairs implemented. GHA were said to go ahead with the repairs in 2012, which were then halted, and ever since then our shop's been in danger and we've been basically in limbo waiting for these repairs to happen.
As you can see, this is the kind of problems that we've got. It's been ongoing for a very, very long time. The back wall there, which actually looks okay, only discovered a few years ago, and that's actually a false wall, which the council built about 35 years ago. And the whole point in building the false wall was to prevent the dampness. There's a cavity beyond that of about 3 foot, and then beyond that you have the original wall, which is similar condition to the rest of the walls, obviously all damp and dilapidated. The council have given us obviously no help. We've got no intention of spending anything at all on it. We're told that they basically told us to do what we want at our expense. So, but now one of the main concerns is the sort of area above us is the drying area for the closes, and as you can see, it's steel beams with concrete in the middle, and the steel beams are kind of corroding. And I might be wrong, but I certainly feel as if the concrete is kind of coming away, and there's parts of it which have kind of dropped down. And there was a snooker club in Shawlands which had the same setup many years ago. Actually, the whole thing collapsed. And one of the problems is that under the council's lease, they make no responsibility. So basically, all this could collapse, and we would have nowhere to trade and have no stock. So this is another historic area of dampness, which the council have been made aware of for years and years and years. They used to come round every now and again and try and do something about it, but certainly for the last well, 5 years anyway since I've been involved. Nobody's ever bothered, ever come round. But it's a cast iron pipe which comes from the drying greens, and obviously the water flows down, but the seal around the cast iron pipe is never ever sealed, so the water constantly drips down the walls, and we've had to put big buckets which we empty on a regular basis to try and catch some of the water to obviously prevent it from going all over the floor to make it worse. But the walls over the years are just getting worse and worse, and even starting to sort of bow out now.
With more and more issues presenting themselves, independent business owners are becoming fewer and fewer on the street, and with each loss, this means there is less footfall for the remaining businesses.
Purely on independent retail, you know, a pound spent locally stays locally, and if you want to sort of foster an independent retail scene, city properties are really a big block in the pipe that is preventing that from happening. For example, if the Ladywell closes, well, I mean, a lot of their classes that they hold or events that take place in the Ladywell, I get a turn of trade off the back of them, in that customers of Sam's visit McCune Smith before attending a workshop. Likewise, anyone that goes for a haircut at James Hughes will pop into McCune Smith for a coffee or a sandwich, whatever it may be, either after or before a haircut. I mean, I shop locally. Mohammed, I get my newspapers from Mohammed. The comedy festival, they come in here for coffee and socialising. Likewise, Helping Heroes, again, come in here for lunches and so on. So in that respect, I'm quite fortunate in that I'm a sort of hub that people visit in the area. I mean, the charity shop round the corner, the ladies from the Cathedral charity shop pop in here for lunch as a treat. So the closure of any shop is detrimental to the rest of the street. I mean, the most important thing is getting footfall in the street, and you're not going to achieve that if the street is empty of businesses. You've got to have a reason for people to visit an area, and the more people that are in business, the more footfall that there is. The more footfall there is, the higher people's incomes are, more employment goes up, and ultimately the more we can afford to pay in rents and rates. So everyone wins in this scenario.
We don't understand why City Property can't work with us and why they refuse an open forum meeting with us. They need to come to the area and see for themselves the problems that tenants here are facing. With the same 26% vacant units now in 2016 as they inherited in 2010, something drastic needs to be done to save the High Street. For the past 6 years, we've been fighting to save our business in the face of frustration and obfuscation from City Property and GHA. We hope to raise awareness of the situation on the High Street, which is leaving Glasgow's oldest street, which is a Bronze Age street, looking like a dilapidated thoroughfare with nothing of interest for any visitors or locals. There's no history boards telling that William Wallace fought a battle, the Bell of the Bray here, no history boards to tell us Robert the Bruce was hailed as king in Glasgow Cathedral, nor of Mary Queen of Scots' presence around here. As tourism is so important to cities like Glasgow now, something really has to be done to save the area, and we really hope this can shine a light on the problems here and gain us some much needed help.
With the rich history of the area and the jobs of many locals in the balance, the fight for Glasgow's High Street has never been more important. Glasgow's Improvement Trust gave so much to the street over 100 years ago, and only with the support of the community and those responsible for its care can we give High Street the treatment it deserves. Only time will tell what the future of the street will be.